So you want to develop mobile apps using React Native and Expo, but you don't know where to start. So don't worry, in this video, I'm going to show you how to build an app from scratch using React Native and Expo. So in this video, we are simply going to be building a cryptocurrency application. That is an application that is going to display all cryptocurrencies, including their founders and details. So basically, we are going to be using an API called coinpaprica, right? So without wasting much of the time, let me just show you how the app works. So you can see we have like a list of all cryptocurrencies. It's almost about 9,000 cryptocurrencies. So if, for example, if we click on Bitcoin, you can see it give us the description of Bitcoin and then like the team members who were involved in the creation of Bitcoin. Right? So without wasting much of the time, let's start building our project. So the first thing that we need to do is I'm simply going to go into my folder, and then inside my folder, I already have a folder called React Native Crypto App. So I'm simply going to open my terminal in this folder, right? And then what I'm simply going to do is I'm simply going to create a project using Expo, right? So, and Expo is an SDK that allows you to develop React Native apps. And the good thing about it, they also make it easier for you to deploy your applications on both Google Play Store and Apple App Store using the Expo application service, which I will cover in another video, right? So now I'm simply going to use this command npx create expo using the latest Expo SDK, right? So then it's asking us need to install the following packages. Yeah, we'll just accept. And then it's asking us for the app name. So I'm simply going to say crypto app YouTube. Then we, of course, we need to use the latest SDK, which is SDK 57. Okay, now it's done. So basically what I'm simply going to do is I'm simply going to open using Visual Studio Code. You can use any code editor of your choice, but mine is going to be Visual Studio Code, right? So inside we have our cryptocurrency YouTube application. Then what I'm simply going to do is I'm simply going to open terminal. So as you can see now, we now have our Expo project here. You can see this is like our off folders, right? We have app components, constants, hooks, and something like that. So you can see like we sort of have like unnecessary files which I want to clear. But before doing that, I simply want to run the application and show you how the application works, right? So we're just going to wait for the terminal to finish. Okay, so now what we can do is we can just run npx expo start. So let's just let this start. As you can see now, you can actually scan this QR code on your phone to run it on your phone. So, and then you can also press a question mark. If you press a question mark, it will show you other commands that you can use. A to open on Android, I to open on iOS, and then Shift I to select an iOS simulator, right? So let's just click A to open it on Android. So I want to open it on Android on an Android emulator. So let's do that. Okay, let's also run it on iOS also. You can see now we are now on iOS. It's saying welcome to Expo. So I don't know what's going on with Android. It's taking a bit of time. So what I can do instead is I can simply uninstall the Expo Go application. And then I'll try to run it again on Android. Okay, so now let's try to run it again on Android. So you can see that it's telling us try editing the source app index.tsx. So let's go inside our source app index.tsx. So inside here we have the index.tsx, and then you can see welcome to Expo. So I can just change it to welcome to share. So this is my name, and then I can simply save, and then you can see welcome to Isheones, something like that, right? And then yeah, you can see now it's working also on Android. It's just finished. It's now working on the Android emulator, right? So you can see welcome to Isheones. But the thing is, like, I don't like how we have so many bloatware. So I'm just going to clear to reset all this to remove some of the unnecessary stuff. Right? So what I'll simply do is I'll simply stop the server. So I'll simply stop the server, and then I'll simply run okay, so what we can do is I think it's we can search on cloud code so we can just use this command npm project, saying do you want to move existing example, deleting, let's just say yes. Okay, all right, so now we have reset our project. Now you can clearly see now we now have a clean project, right? So we now have a clean project right here. So now if we go back inside our source folder, you can see that now we now have like only two files. We have the index.tsx, right? We have the index.tsx right here. We have the index.tsx, and we also have the layout.tsx, right? So basically what's going on is the index.tsx is mainly like the main file or the home screen for our application, right? That's what is displayed. And then inside our layout.tsx here, we have what we call the stack. We have a stack, right? Which we import from Expo router, right? So basically what happens with React Native and Expo is that the screen that is currently displayed is the screen that is on top of a stack, right? So that's the screen that's currently on top of a stack. So basically what we simply have to do here is let's just run expo npm expo start, and then let's run it on an iOS simulator. Let's see. As you can see, now we now have the index folder that's currently being displayed here. But the thing is, like, if we don't want this up at the top there, we can simply make adjustments in the. You can simply make that adjustments inside our layout folder, right? So basically, what we have to do here is we have to we just create a stack, this, then we will simply, inside our stack like this, what we will simply do is we have to just play with the screen options parameter. Inside this screen options parameter, we want so header shown, to set the header shown to false, right? So once we set the header shown to false, you can see now that nothing is being displayed here, right? Right. So basically now what we want to do is inside our app folder, I want to create another folder called screens. So it's going to be parentheses screens, something like this, right? And then what I want to do is I want to move our index.folder inside there. So I've moved our index.folder inside our screens right here, right? Okay. So once I do that, the thing that we need to do now is we need to go inside our layout.tsx right here. So inside our layout.tsx, we need now to tell our router where our screens are. So the name is going to be simply equal to parentheses screens, like this. So now you can see we now have it displayed here. So it knows that since we are referring to these screens, it will simply look at the index.tsx like this. Okay, so basically that's it for a start. Now we need to start working on getting data from our coinpaprica API. All right, so this is our API here, coinpaprica. So if you go on Google, you can simply type coinpaprica API. So this is coinpaprica API here, right here. So it's just a free API that you can actually use to get information about cryptocurrencies. API reference, you can see this is the base URL right here, and then this is the one for like a paid version, but we are simply going to use the free version right here. So you can see you can do a get request to the api.coinpaprica/coins, right? So let me just copy this URL right here. So I'll simply copy it, and then I'll simply open Postman. And then I'll simply paste it inside Postman. So once I paste it inside Postman, you can see now, it takes so much time to load, about 5 seconds, because we have a lot of coins that are coming in. So we have this response which is showing us all the different lists of coins. So at first we have Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then Bitcoin is rank number with rank, it's rank number 1, of course. And then Ethereum is rank number 2. And then is it new, false? Is it active, true? And then type is showing us that it's a coin. Some other type, it can be a token, right? So okay, so without wasting much of that time, let's start working on getting data from our coins, right? So from Postman, you can see that a coin has an ID, name, symbol, rank, if it's new, if it's active, and it's typed, right? So basically what I'm simply going to do is inside our app folder, I'm simply going to create another, inside our source folder, I'm simply going to create another folder called types, right? Inside our source folder, I'm simply going to create another folder called types. So inside that, I'm going to create a type called coin.typescript. So we need to export the type since we want to use it in another file. So this type is going to be at first web ID. So this ID is going to be a string. I pull up Postman, you can see it's a string right here. And then we also have a name, which is also a string. And then we also have a symbol, which is also a string. And then rank, the coins rank is going to be, then is new, is going to be a boolean. Then is active also is going to be. Then type is going to be a string. Okay, so now we are done with this type right here. Now let's move inside our index.tsx. Because now inside our index.tsx, that's where we want to display our list of coins, right? We want to display our list of coins. So to get this list of coins, what we need is we actually create a hook use state with coins and set coins. And then we need a use state here. At first, we are going to initialize it as an empty list of coins. So let's import coin from our types. Then when we are still loading our data, as you can see, it took something like, for us to get the coins, if I send a get request, it's taking something like a few seconds, right? So you don't want to keep the screen blank for 4 seconds. So we need to show the user that we are actually loading the data from the set. So this is going to be a boolean. This data is then when something goes wrong, also we need to tell the user if there's an error, or we don't want them to guess if there's something wrong with getting the data. Then we'll create a method for getting the coins, right? Which is going to be a synchronous method. So we'll wrap everything inside the try catch block. So the first one to get server, we are going to just await the page that the response. So we are going to fetch that response. If you still remember, this is our URL right here. Simply going to copy it, going to paste it here. Then if we don't get if the response is not okay, we don't get a 200 status code, what we are simply going to do is we are simply going to throw an error. Simply going to throw an error showing the response status. Right. case we simply want to get the response. Get the response as a JSON, right? Then you want to set the coin, right? Set the coin to the response, right? To set the empty list of coin to the response, right? Yeah. So set the coins to the response that we're getting from our set. Then if there's an error, then we basically want to catch that error. Then it will simply set error to the error. Then if we don't know, it will simply say one error. Otherwise, we simply, once the trackage block is done, we simply set loading false. Okay, so to get this data from our external server, what we need is we use focus effect, right? So basically what this use focus hook is, you can see it comes from React Native router, right? So it comes from Expo router, right? So what basically is that, how it works is that when we are at a screen, that means that the screen that is focused, or the screen that is on top of our stack, the screen that we are opening, right? That's when it's running. And then when we leave that screen, it automatically clears. And then when we come back again, it fires again. That's the use focus effect, right? And then it needs a use callback, right? So if you don't use callback, it will continue running, right? It will continue running even when the screen is focused. It will just continue firing up. So you need to use the use callback to just fire when we are focused, right? And then when we leave, it will be jump, then just clear. Then so we'll then fetch our points here. Okay, so now what we want to do is, if what we want to do now is, if we are loading, that is, we are still getting data from our server, right? What we want to do is we simply return an activity indicator. An activity indicator, as you can see, it comes from React Native, right? An activity indicator. It's more of like a secular progress indicator, but you just give it a size, just say 60. Yeah, let's just say 60. And then we will need to style it. That's what we are going to do next. And then if there's an error, for example, there is an error, we're simply going to display a text. Which is going to be error. Okay, so now what happens is, for us to style items, we need what we call a style sheet, right? you need to use what we call a style sheet, and this style sheet, it comes from React Native, right? So let's style the indicator first. So to style the indicator, simply call it indicator, and then just give it a flexible. Let's make a flexible layout. And we want to align it to the center. So say align content center, but then justify content center. Then choose this style. What we simply have to do is there's a style parameter here, and then we'll simply reflect styles dot indicator, right? Okay, so now that we are done with this, the next thing that you need to see is that we have this layout right here. So let me just open our application again. Okay, it seems as if it's connecting to Android. So you can see we have this layout with all the coins right here. So we have this component, I would like to call it all coins component right here, right? And then we sort of like have a coin item right there, right? So basically what I'll simply do is inside our app folder, I'll create another folder called component. So we need to divide our UI elements into components. Right? So inside these components, I'll then create a component called all coins GSX. So you can just say RNF, right? React Native Functional Components like this. Then I'll simply change this to all coins. So first of all, I need to create a coin item, coin or coins pop, which is going to be a list of coins. Then what we're simply going to do here is I'm simply going to pass these pop coins, and then we need to make sure that it's of type all coin pops, this, right? So inside this list of coins right there, you can see we have our user interface here. From our user interface here, we have this text which is crypto coins, right? So what I'm going to do before we do that, inside here, I'm simply going to change it to return all coins pop, or all coin component. So all coins component, and then let's import. Then say add missing attributes. So the coins we need to pass in coins right there. We need to pass in our coin properties right there. And then let me just try to open it on Android. So you can see we still have a blank user interface. Okay, that's also good. So I can see we have this text right here, which is crypto coins, right? So let's inside our all coins right here. What I will simply do is we have a view. A view is more of like a container. It's more of like a div if you are into web development. And if you are coming from Flutter, it's more of like a container. So I'm simply going to change this text to crypto. Crypto coins. Like this. Right. So you can see that we have the text, but it's protruding into a notification. That's something that we'll fix very soon. But yeah, you can see we now have the text, but we need to style this text. So basically what I'm simply going to do is I'm simply going to create a style for this, which is, yes, I remember it comes from style sheet. So that style sheet comes from React Native. Then this is going to be a title. Then let's give it a font size. We want it to be 20. And then we want to align the text in the center. And then we need also to change the font weight. And then what we also need to do is we need also the color. We need the color to be green. Just type in the green color that I used. Then let's reload. Okay, it's because we haven't implemented style. The title, yeah. Now we can see crypto coins. Yes, we now have it, right? Now the next thing that we need is a crypto. Now the next thing that we need to do is we need to show these cryptocurrencies, right? So as you can see, we have the rank right here, and then we have the crypto name, and then we have the symbol, and then we have the activity status right there, right? So basically this whole item component, this whole item, I'll just call it the coin item. So let's create a component inside our components folder called coin item. Item.tsx. So in shortcut you can just say rnf React Native functional components, right? And then you can just rename it coin item like this. So this coin item just basically represents a coin item. So for each coin, we know that we'll need to pass in some props, right? So simply create a prop, which is coin item prop. And then we have for each coin we have an ID, which is a string. We have a name also, which is a string. We also have a symbol, which is a string. And then rank. coin item, we need to pass in this box. So we have ID, name, symbol. New. Then for this, you can see all elements are unused, all the structured elements are unused. So we basically need to bind to our coin item props. This, okay, now you can see now. So basically we need to return a view. Okay, so in this view you can see now that we have the rank, the name, and the symbol. They are more of like, with the activity status, they are more of like in a row, right? They are more of like in a row. But this rank, name, and symbol are also in a row, like on the left side. They're also like in a row. So basically, let's create our step sheet at first. So I'll create style sheet from React Native. So at first, we have the container. First, we have this container. So this container is the one that contains all the coin item, the whole coin item right here. You can see this whole coin item. And this whole coin item, you can see that we have this left side, which is the rank, the name, and the symbol are in row with the activity status, right? But all of them are in a row. So what we will simply do is just put a flex direction, which is row towards the in a row. Then justify content. So for it to look like this, right? There is a space between the left sided and the activity status. So just say space between them, right? And then heading horizontal, we'll just 10. That is means padding from these edges right there. It's going to be 10, right? And then vertical, that is from the top, going to be 10. So right. So this is the container. So inside our container right here, we have to style. It goes to styles contain right there, right? And then now this is the view that contains, this view is the view that contains left side and also activity status. Like this, think of it like this. So basically what's happening is that the left side is the rank, name, and symbol. The activity status is the one that shows if the coin is active or not, right there. So that's the container in which this whole container contains both of these sides, right? So let's take care of the left side, right? So inside the left side, we now need another container also. We now need another container also, and this container is going to contain the left side, which is the rank, name, and symbol, something like that, right? So what we are simply going to do is we need a text like this, and then this text is simply going to display the rank. Since this rank is a number, we are simply going to convert it to a string. Okay, rank.toString like this, right? and then the other one is going to be a text also, and then this text is going to just display the name of the coin, right? Then if there's no name, we're simply going to display an empty name there. And then we also need to display the symbol, right? And then let's just display a symbol right there, and then if there's no symbol. So this is the left side, right? This is the left side. So let's take care of it inside our status. Left. Okay. And then the flex direction, also we need a flex direction. It's going to be O. And then we want to align the items center. And then the gap, that is the gap between these items. You can see there is a gap in between. So that gap is a gap of 10. Right, so now if I go inside here, inside this container here, you say style, you go to styles left like this, right? And then we need to, now what do we need to style now? Okay, so we need to style the rank, we need to style the rank, the name, and the symbol. Rank, or we can just call it rank text. Call it the rank text. Just the size of 18. Then font weight. Color also black. Then we also do the same thing. We just call it the symbol text. Almost the same. And then we also need to do the same thing for the name text. Yeah, and then let's apply these styles here. Then let's style the rank. Okay, now we have finished styling them. And then the next thing now is the text for the activity status, right? So basically what we want to do is we need to take care of the activity status in two ways, right? So at first we will open these square brackets, open curly brackets right there, square brackets, right? And then we'll check if the status, active status is true. If it's true, we want to just show plain text. If it's true, we want to show a plain text active. And then if somehow it's not true, we want to show another text. But this time just not active. If the coin is not active, and then we just show like a red card. So let's take care of this styling. So to do that, let's go inside here and then let's just go under the name text. What we're simply going to do is the active, then font size is going to be 15. Color. The color will also need the same green text. Okay, let's copy this because it's going to be the same, but let's just change it to not active. Then let's make sure the color is red. Okay, so now under our style, just change the active style. Simply show dot active. Then if it's not active, simply show the red text styles of not active. Right, so now we have taken care of this coin item component, everything. We have taken care of everything. Now the thing is, like, now inside our all coins, we want to pass in the coin item. Right, we now need to pass in the coin item so that it can display like a list of all coins, right? But the problem that we have here is we can choose to map through all the list of coins, but remember that we have approximately 9,000 coins from coinpaprica API. So that means we are going to have sort of like performance issues, right? We have performance issues. Our app might freeze if we decide to use to map through each and every coin from our API, or use or if we use the scroll view. So basically what we use is a component from React Native, which is a flash list, right? You can see this flash list comes from React Native. So basically the flash list, it only displays first the components that can fill our screen first. For example, if our screen can be filled with 20 items, it only display 20 items first, and then it will load the rest as we scroll down, right? So this is an efficient way of doing, other than trying to load all 9,000 coins at once, which will take some time, right? So it has a few parameters. The first one is going to be data. Then for the data, we are simply going to pass in coins, right? And then it has a key extractor. So this key extractor is to just assign a specific ID to a particular item in the list, right? So we want to just say coin and then coin .id, right? We want to assign an ID as a key extractor, as a key to each individual list, right? And then now we want to render the item now. So we now want to render the item, or to render the coin, right? So to render the item is simply going to be a coin. And then you will simply return the coin item. Simply return the coin item component. Let's add it as missing attributes. So the first one is the key. So key, want to assign a unique key, which can be an ID. Then we have the ID, just to remember. So it's going to be coin.id. and then we have the name. So rank is supposed to be a number. So if you go inside our coin item, I think we made a mistake. The rank to be string, it's supposed to be a number. Right. So now we go inside our coins. You can see now everything here. Everything is now okay. So what you can simply do is you can reload. You have, let's see. Okay, the problem is that we got flat list. We imported the wrong flat list. So we need to get it from React Native. Okay. So you can see now we now have the list of coins right there. Then I think we have an error or something. Text strings must be rendered within text component. Styles to contain now let's go inside our coin item. Okay, I think it's because of these comments or something like that we're getting these errors. Say view styles of this. Saying text strings must be within, okay, cross check. Let's reload and see if we're still getting the same errors. Yeah, basically it was because of those comments. Okay, so now you can see now, but we have this line that's dividing each coin item, right? So basically, if we want to get that line, what we can actually do is we can go inside all coins, and then the flat list. The flat list actually has a property that we can use, which is called item separator component, right? That we can actually use is called item separator component. So let's item separator component. Let's use that component, and then inside that component, what we can simply do is we can simply return the style. We can simply return a view. So to create that divider, we'll simply have to create a view, and then we'll modify that view to suit. Simply create a view with a border, so that a black border that can just go underneath there. Right, so inside our style, what I'm simply going to do is I'm simply create another property called separator. Then give it a height, style sheet, and then use this hairline with property, hairline with property. And the background color is going to be gray, right? Something like this, right? So if we go inside our item separator, right, you can see now we don't have anything appearing because we have installed this view right here. So what you can see, style dot separator. Yeah, now you can see we now have that divider coming out, right? Dividing all the coin items right there, right? Right, so just reload the application. Right, so now the main issue now, as you can see, we have this inside our crypto coin is not protruding into our notification area, but on our app that we're creating, we have this, it's protruding into our notification area. So to actually fix it, we need to go inside our layout.tsx. So we actually need something that's called a safe area, right? If with Flutter it's just a widget, but with React Native, actually you actually need to install a library. So this library is named let's just let's try to install it. So, install. It's called React Native Safe Area Context, right? npm install React Native Safe Area Context. Okay, so now that we have installed this, what we are basically going to do is we need to wrap this string inside this stack inside our safe area provided, right? So I'll simply cut it, and then we simply return a safe area provider. Okay, so this can open parentheses safe area provider. Then inside this safe area provider, we also need to inside the safe area view this, then paste our stick right there. You just get rid of this. So basically what we need to do is we need to also safe area view. Safe area view, right? You can see now we no longer saying expected. Okay, expected this. Okay, as you can see now, we now have, but we see that it's still protruding to our notification area, right? So let's reload the application. What is it saying? Let's get rid of this. So why is it now displaying an empty? It's not displaying an empty, saying what? It's a failure view. It's a failure view, it's a failure view. So what's causing this error? There might be something. Okay, let's okay, so I'm just simply going to state it here. Simply going to cut everything here and return parentheses self area provider. And then we want self area here, and then self area view. It's important from the native, and then we want to paste everything inside self area view. Let's load the application. Let's see. So now it's not displaying an empty item, which I don't know what's the error, where's the error coming from. Okay, so what we are basically doing, let's style the self area view. Style is going to come from style sheet. And let's just create a container. Give it a flex of 1. Then margin top. Status break native current height. So want margin top to be from away from the status bar. If it's not, then we just set it to 0, right? Then the native then style sheet also. now we simply provide inside our save area. Displaying all the items. It's because we didn't style it. Now we can see now in our OF the crypto item, and then we fixed it. As you can see, the margin top is the height from the status bar. That's why we use the status bar, the current height, the height of the status bar. Right. So now the next issue now that we need to work on is on the coin detail screen, and that's what we actually need to work on, the coin detail screen. Okay, so basically inside our screens, what we can see is you simply do is inside our screen, let's create a folder called coin detail. Right, so let's create a folder called coin detail. Right, so in order to get coin details, I'm simply going to open Postman and show you something. To open a coin detail, we simply have to use coin / and then the ID. The ID is coming from this. You can see BTC Bitcoin is our ID. So if I do that, you can see it will give us the detailed description on Bitcoin, right? So basically that means we need to pass in the ID, right, inside our what to get the coin detail page. So that's what we are simply going to do. So what I'll simply have to do here is I'll then create another screen. So since we are going to pass in the ID inside our coin detail page to return the coin detail, what we need to do actually is with Expo is, since it's a file-based system, we need to create a square bracket ID. Since we are passing the ID, we'll repeat inside the square brackets ID.tsx, right? And then the other thing is like when a file starts with open curly brackets like these screens, that means that we can actually ignore it when we are trying to access the coin detail, which I'll explain when we move to like the coin detail, right? All right, so now let's just say rnf React Native functional components, and then let's just change it to coin detail. Coin detail is supposed to be text, right? So if we go inside our coin detail, what we actually need is we also need to retrieve the coin details, right? We actually need to retrieve the coin details. So basically what I'll do is, like previously, we need to retrieve. What I'll simply do is I'll go inside our index folder right there, and then I'll simply copy. I'll simply copy everything here because it's almost similar. So I'll simply copy that inside our coin detail. Simply paste it here. So we are simply going to import useState from React. And then the other thing is, since we are going, instead of the coin, we'll simply change this to coin and then set coin, something that we're going to fix it. The other issue that we need to take off is the parameter that we are going to get from. And so this parameter is going to be an ID. We simply want to get an ID. Then we simply local search param, right, which comes from Expo router, as you can see, because it's passed inside navigation routes, right? Then this string is basically going to be ID of type string going to be an ID. Okay. Now we need to take care of the coin detail. So let's go inside our types. So inside our types, we create coin detail .ts. So basically, what you can see from our application here that we are also getting the rank, the name, the symbol, the active, if the coin is still active, and then we are going to get the coin description, the coin tags, and then last the team members, right? So let's do that. So export. We're going to export it. We are going to use it in another file. Coin detail. ID. It's going to be a string. Name. The rank also boolean. Then logo. So let's get rid of the logo because we're not using it. Of course, we need a description. String. Then we also need a team, which is going to be a list of team members, but we need to create this type also. And then we have the tags also. So basically, if I pull my post menu, you can see on the tags we have the ID and then name and then the coin counter or something. We don't need it. We are simply going to need the ID and the name. So inside our types, let's create tags .ts. So we are simply going to export type tags ID name so string. And then we also need team members. So pull out post menu, you can see we have team members. You can see we have the ID, name, and position. So let's create another type, which is going to be team members. Position string, and then if we go inside team members and then text, let's import it right. So we now have the coin detail. So if we go inside our coin detail screen, you simply have to make some modifications, right? So here is going to be coin detail, right? It's not going to be an empty list. It's going to be just empty coin detail versus an object, right? Okay, now what we need to do is let's go. We need to modify our URL. So let's do it. So now we need to just pair with backticks. Then and then we'll simply append the ID to the end of our URL. Okay, check right here. It's not supposed to be set coin, it's supposed to be set coin. Then we'll also do the same thing. Use effect, use focus effect. And then use callback. Let's change it from fetch coin to fetch coin detail. Okay. So we are simply going to do the same thing. If our data is still loading, we need to display a loader. Simply pass the size. Style is going to be styles of the indicator. Then if an error, we are simply going to display an error. Then instead of a view, we want to return a score view. So basically a score view is just a container, but if we have too many items, then we want to keep scrolling down. So we use a score view. So also get it from React Native. It's a React Native component. Score view. And then let's then style it. All right, so let's create styles first. The style sheet, React Native component, if you remember. Then we want to start with the container, which is our score view. So we just want to apply heading. That's the only thing that we need to do. And then, of course, we need to take care of circular progress indicator. So I'll just give it the name indicator. Just give it a flex of 1. Then we want to align items center. Justify content center also. And then, as you can see, is styles.indicator. Okay, it's not style sheet, it's supposed to be styles. duplicate declaration of point detail. Okay. Okay, I know we should change this to point detail screen, since if we do that we end up getting an error. Let's reload. Okay, so now we're getting a list of coins. Now we need to take care of navigation, right? So we need to go inside our all coins component. We need to go inside our we need to go inside our coin item, because if you want the user to, if the user clicks the coin item, we want to then move to coin detail screen. So here, instead of returning this view, I'm simply going to put inside everything inside a touchable opacity, right? So it's a touchable opacity component from React Native, right? We're going to paste everything inside a touchable opacity, right? Something like this. So if you touch this, you can see that it kind of like fades out. That's the effect of the touchable opacity component. And then it has a property called onPress. So with onPress, what we want to do is we want to then move to our point detail screen. So what we basically need to do is we'll simply use router.push, right? So we simply need to import this router from, it comes from Expo router, right? Dot push. And then to push this, what you can see is we can, instead of passing in screens coin detail, right? Since the screen folder is in open parentheses, that means that during reference to our navigation, we can skip this screen folder, and then we can just move direct to our coin detail and /, and then simply passing the ID, right? So simply passing this ID right here, right? So now it knows, if we click, you can see that it moves to the coin detail screen, right? It knows, since our screens folder is in open parentheses, it knows that if it's in open parentheses, we can just skip this and then we'll move to the coin detail. We don't need to reference it like this. So we don't need to do that, right? Screens. So we don't need to do that. Actually, it actually works, but we don't need to do that, right? We can simply move to the coin detail, which is something that is good with Expo file-based, folder-based navigation, right? You can see, yeah, we can move, but it's not necessary. So just remove it. Just coin detail, and then move on to export out, right? So now that we are actually moving to our folder, which is a good thing, let's go back to our coin detail screen. So inside this core view, what we want is also we also need Expo vector icons, because we need an icon. So I'm simply going to import like beyond icons from Expo then vector icons like this, and then we need to install that Expo. So if I'm not mistaken, it was supposed to be npx Expo. So vector icons. Let's see. I didn't make a mistake. Yeah, that's it actually. Okay, so now we need to install Expo vector icons, right? It's a library that's going to give us like a couple of icons. Right? So after installing Expo vector icons, what I simply want to do is I want to create an icon. So let's just say icon Ion icons. Ion icons. So this should come from Expo vector. This should come from Expo vector icons. So let's import. Let's import Ion icon. At Expo vector icons, right? So now that we have managed to import it, now let's get back to working on the icon, right? So basically what you simply have to do, the name of the icon is simply going to be arrow bake, because we want it to be a bake icon, right? Arrow bake. So if I click on our device, you can see now we have this icon, a small icon. So let's just give it a size of 25. Then you can see now it's now visible. And then we can also give it a color property, but in this case default it's black. So we can just change the color to black. Okay, so let's just get rid of out here, please, because we forgot. Now what we want to do is we want to make sure that when the user clicks on this icon, they can go back to the navigation page, right? They can go back to the first page, like if they click on this icon. Right now, if we click on it, nothing happens. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to use what's called a pressable component, right? So just make sure that we wrap our arrow bake icon inside a pressable component, right? So the pressable component, what it basically does, it takes care of when the user press our icon, right? So now on press, we are simply going to go back to the original page. So it's going to be router.back like this, right? So now if I click on this, you can see now we're going back to our page right there, right? You can see that we are going back to our page right there. Okay, so basically what I'm simply going to do is I'm simply going to review our user interface. So this is our user interface, right? So as you can see, we have this arrow bake function, and then we have the rank, the name, the symbol, and the active status, right? And then we have the description. So as you can see, all this user interface is more of like it's in a column, right? As you can see, we are going downwards, so it's in a column. So now what I want is inside this scroll view, I want to create another view or another container. So basically this view or this container, what it will basically do is it's going to contain this user interface, right? So let's make sure that we import it from React Native. So it's view from React Native, right? And then now we need to take care of a few properties. We need to take care of a few properties here. So we already have the container padding. I hope we applied scroll view. So we should apply the container property to the scroll view. As you can see, it's closed. So we can say style is equal to styles.container. Now you can see now there's a gap away from the edge, right? So basically now what I want to do is I want to take care of the column, right? The column container. Right? That's what I want to take care of. So basically what I'm going to just do is going to say column, the items in our column. I just want to give a gap of 10 like this, right? And then that's it. So in this we continue, simply style it. Then it's going to be a column. So that means going downwards, there's going to be a gap of chain, right? But as you can see from our user interface here, right, these items, this first item are in a row, as you can remember. We have the rank, the name, and the symbol. They are more of like in a row on the left side, but that left side is in a row with the active, right? And then there's sort of like a space between, right? So let's check here of the row. So just say row, and then what we are simply going to do is we'll give a flex direction of row. And then justify content, want space between those two items. Space between. So let's check here of the row. So inside our column, the first item that we're going to have is going to be the row. Then we are still going to style our view. Right. So now this is the row is basically the container for this first item. For this first item written number 1 Bitcoin BTC, right? That's the row container. And then now we need the left side. As you still remember that the left side is the one with number 1 BTC and then with the symbol, right? So let's just take care of the left side. So basically what I'm going to do here is left. We'll give it a flex direction of row, and then gap. The gap is basically going to be 10 also, right? So now basically let's create inside our row, let's create a left side container that's going to contain our left side. Let's style it. Going to be styles dot the left, right? And then inside there, what we need is a text for the rank, right? So let's just look for it, text, and then the text is going to be coin.rank. As you can see, coin.rank, and then we also want to have another text, which is going to be coin So it's supposed to be in a curly brackets, right? So coin name like this, and then another text. Then symbol, okay, like this. Okay, so now we need the style for the rank name and then symbol, right? So let's do it. So the rank, let's just call it rank text. Okay, we'll give a font size of 18 and then a font weight of 500. And then we'll just make sure that the color is black. Okay, so we basically will do the same thing for the symbol and then the name. So let's just paste it. Let's change it to symbol text. And then let's change it to name text. Then let's apply those styles to our text. So it's going to be styles to rank text. Then let's do it to the name also. Then let's do it to the symbol. Right, so now that we are done, you can see now. But we want this symbol to be sort of like in to be sort of like curly braces, right? Okay, now you can see BTC right there. And then as you can see, this is the container for the left side. You can see this is all the left side right there. So basically we need to exit this container and then we are simply going to display the text for the activity, right? So basically what we simply do is set our curly braces, check so check if it's active. If it's active, is equal to true. Then we'll display a text. Then we'll display a text active. Else, we'll simply display another text which is not active. Okay, says it expected. All right. So, right now you can see if we go. Now we have the active text, but it's still black, so we want it to be green. So basically what we do is do this style to the active text. So this active text font size is going to be 15. Then the font weight be 400. and then we'll just display a green color, which this is the hexadecimal code 0064. All right, so now I'm just going to copy this text and then I'll paste it below, and then I'm simply going to change it to not active text. And then this is going to be ff000. Okay, and then let's apply it to our text. And then for the active text, and then for the not active text, so now you can see, now we have this green color right there. So now that we are done with this section, the second one is going to be the description text. So the description text, what we are going to do is we are simply going to exit our container, our raw container, right? This raw container here. So I'm simply going to exit it, and then we have our text, which is going to be going to display the description. So as you can see, we now have a description. So this is the description right there. So I just want to do a few things. So I'm simply going to copy, and then let's change to description. So font size, I'm simply going to change it to 12. Then I'm just going to give it a heading 10. All right, so you can see now that's it. Now we have the next issue is going to be the text. So as you can see, we now have text here, right? The text. But what I'm going to do is we are going to simply create another component for the text, but we have this text. So I'm going to say text title. Then I'm just going to give a font size of 20, and then font weight of 700. So it's supposed to be and then after the description, I'm simply going to copy this. So I'm simply going to apply the style for the description. And let's apply also the style for the text title. So if we are to okay, let's change it. It's supposed to be text. Yeah, now you can see we now have the text here. But what I want to do is I want to create inside our components. Let's create a text component. TSX. So let's do our shortcut RFN. Then let's just make the caps lock text component. So firstly, we need space props, which is going to be text props, and then props is going to just simply be a list of text. So text, if they are not text, we are simply going to just call it undefined, right? And then we simply have to pass in text, and then make sure that it's in every text pops, right? And then the style here is going to be let's say style is equal to, let's just say styles dot text container, because that's what we want to do. So let's create the style sheet. So basically we getting a text container. As you can see from our user interface, if I open our iOS simulator here, you can see that it's more of like we are in a row, right? So the flex direction is going to be row. And then, for example, if our items in the flex direction, if they exceed, if they cannot fit, we are going to wrap. That means they will go to the next line. So we just say flex wrap, and then it's going to be wrap. That means it will go to the next line. And then gap of 8. Then padding horizontal. Padding horizontal of 10, right? And then we want to take care of the text themselves. So the text font size is going to be 20. And then the font weight is going to be 700. That's going to be the text. And then the chip, that is the chip button that you saw there. So that chip button so padding horizontal is going to be 14. Then padding vertical is going to be 8. And then we'll give it this nice border radius. You can see there is this border radius. So make sure that border radius is 20. Then background color now. So the background color will just make sure it's white. And then we need to take care of the chip, the text. So okay, let's get rid of this text because we already have it in another in our coin detail page, so there's no need for it. So the chip text font size is going to be 18. Now font weight is going to be, and then the color is going to be black. Right, so it's not supposed to be style sheet, it's going to be styles text container like this. All right, so now basically what we need to do is we simply have to look through each and every tag that we're getting. So to do so, we simply have to just look through tags.map, and then we'll simply have a touchable opacity. And the style is basically going to be styles.cheap. And then, so we need a key, a list of items. So the key is going to be tag.id. And then now we basically have to just display the text. So we need to apply a style to it. So it's going to be styles.cheap text like this. And then it's going to be tag.name. Okay. So now we are done. Let's go back to our point detail screen. Then inside our coin detail screen, what we are simply going to do is after these tags, we are simply going to get the text component, right? As you can see, it requires a property which is text. It's going to be coins. It's going to be coin.text. Okay. So if to click on that BTC, you can see now we have the text, but I think we are still missing something here. Background color on the chip, I think we forgot to apply that green border color. It's supposed to be border color. Okay, yeah, so we forgot the border width. So the border width is 1, and then we also have the border color. Okay, now you can see that, and then with the touchable opacity, right? And then the last thing is you can see we need team members. That's the last thing that we need. So after the text component, let's just create text component here. Then it's going to be team members. Then I think it's the style is going to be the same with text title. So I'm simply going to copy the style, paste it below. I'm going to change it to team members. Team members title. Then let's apply it. Then now you can see we have team members there. All right, so now what I want to do is work on the team members component. So let's go inside our components folder. Let's create team members.tsx. and then RNFN, then you press tab, it will give you this shortcut. So let's just remember to rename it to team members component. So also we need to put our team members. And then D, the string, name, which is also a string. And then we have team members position, which is also a string. Then let's just pass it. As you can see now with the team members, let me just pull it so you can see it. You see that the team members are in a sort of like a column, right? They're in a column. So basically our container here should be a column, right? So our container, it should be a column. So let's create a style. Just go to our style sheet from React Native. And then basically what I'm simply going to do here is I'll simply make sure that our container for our team members flex direction. You need to make sure that the flex direction, flex direction is in a column, and then the gap will give it a gap of 10, right? A gap of 10. So inside our coin detail page, after our text, let's just, okay, so let's just get our team members so that we can, so what else simply to do is coin new team today. So now let me see now. Okay, team members, nothing is appearing yet. So, now let's go back to our team members, and then let's apply the style, which is going to be to container, right? And then the next thing that we need to do is we need to for the name. So the name, we just give it a font size of 20. And then font weight of 500. Then I will also need to play around with the position. I'll give a font size 14 and font weight 300. So now let's see team members, but something is just not okay. ID team.name, team.position, but it's not appearing as I want it to be. You can see it's just giving us TTT. Okay, it's because we have T. So now what we can do is we can give it a name. Let's just see how it will appear. Then position. Then now you can see we now have team members: Satoshi Nakamoto, founder. Then as you can see, but we have not yet styled it. So let's style the name. So it's going to be styles.name. Then let's also style the position. Yeah, now you can see now we now have our Outlook is now okay here. But there's something I want a divider between the names of the founders, right? So basically what we'll do is after this text, the position text, I want to put another view which is going to be a divider, right? So what we are simply going to do is let's create a style property called divider, and then the height, we just make sure that the height is just style sheet align width, right, like this. And then let's just make sure the background color is black. Then margin, want the margin vertical. And then let's apply it to our style, to our view here. Divide. Now you can see we now have a division between the founders. You can see now we now have the division, right? So if I click on BNB, you can see we now have that division. So it's supposed to be a closing tag like this. Okay, right. Okay, let's launch it on iOS. Let's see. Right. Okay, there you go. So basically that's it on our React Native Expo crash course. We have managed to build a crypto app using coinpaprica API. So if you like this style of videos, please make sure you give me feedback. Also, if you want me to build anything, just put a comment below and then I'll make videos. Thanks for watching, guys. Cheers.